Happy Halloween, everyone! For this Halloween, I'm looking at the darkest episodes of kids' cartoons. Something that no one's done before. No, but you don't get it. There's a twist here. Number one isn't Zimmer Courage. So I'm not entirely sure what everyone's obsession with dark episodes of kids shows are. It's kind of an outdated concept now that cartoons are trying to be more mature. But listen, I made the slow and painful transition to a cartoon channel. I'm legally required to make this. So in time to make this slightly more interesting than the average scary episode list, some rules. I'm going to place an emphasis on the show itself. If a show is usually pretty dark, it'll rank lower than a more lighthearted show suddenly going grim. Again, yes, this is just so I don't put Zimmer Courage number one. Also, it helps if the whole episode is dark, not just one scene. And I'm going to mix dark, as in the subject matter is more than you'd expect, and scary, as in ah! So join me as look at the top 10, top 15, top 20, top 25, top 27! Top 27 darkest episodes of kids shows. Hey, remember those rules I just laid out? Kill yourself. So Dexter's Lab really pushes the envelope a lot. It's mostly with innuendos and gay stereotypes though. Not darker subject matter or even really scary scenes. And the way of the deity isn't really an exception. The episode starts with Dee Dee once again messing up Dexter's lab, causing him to blow up at her again. Because he's used to being in his lab and working on stuff.
You're like a pickle. I'm pickle. Dexter.
Dee Dee decides to help him loosen up, acting more like a normal goofy child. And he does so! But then his lab breaks, and Dee Dee gives up on him, leaving Dexter to solemnly rebuild his lab, accepting he'll never be normal. Oh, this is such a weird 180 for the show. Nothing here set up such a strange and surprisingly depressing ending. I guess Dexter just has to live with the fact that he's stuck to be a shut-in? Maybe I'm just stupid, but this ending was enough of a blindside for it to just barely make the list for me.
I'm a straight up homo.
Candy's world is really weird when you think about it. The show likes to exaggerate stereotypical kids' struggles and hobbies, and while most are silly, you also have to get to things like their takes on bullying, or the adult versus kid struggle, which are shown as actual cannibals, or a secret conspiracy where adults try to make kids weak. But the weirdest and darkest has to be their take on the boys and girls debate. Operation Future. The episode starts normal. Take a shot every time I say that. It'll be exactly 27 times. With number 4 going to summer camp. The problem is, he has to face the biggest threat that Candy will ever face. More than father or any other villain. Woman. It's an all-girls summer camp, and the problem is that the person running it is a boy hater. The problem worst is that she's got a gun that will turn boys into girls if shot. I'm just saying, there's a lot of people out there who really want that thing. You could make a good difference in life. Evil time traveler principal lady. Oh yeah, there's time travel this episode. This is the only time this happens in the show. But number 4 escapes. But then he doesn't, and oops, looks like all boys are eradicated, and it's like 60 years into the future. Well then, actually let's focus on that. It's explicitly stated several times that these 20 or so boys are the only boys in the entire world. In other words, Matt and Margaret more or less cause a genocide of the entire gender. A gender side, if you will. Like, this isn't fridge horror. We literally see some girls force a boy off a cliff until he's saved. What's weird though is that despite her saying to have eradicated all boys, they're still clearly children who have to have been born somewhat recently. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. Like the last episode, a sudden change is why this episode is so high, but this time, it's more than half the episode. It's a somewhat outdated episode. All the boys love mud and being macho, while all the girls love tea and dolls. But it's from 2000s to whatever. It's fun though, but yeah, it's a good thing this is just a cartoon. I'm so glad women don't actually exist. It's pretty well known that as Fairy Odd Parents went on, they cared less and less. The best example is the episode that said, you know what my favorite part of the body is? Eyes. Lights Out starts with Timmy telling Poof a scary story. So we go back at him, Cosmo and Wanda completely turn off all the lights, and slowly turn more and more into cannibalistic monsters hunting him down. For the most part, this is a tame episode, since, you know, there's nothing to frickin' see. But then we occasionally see stuff, you know, like a cartoon. And we see this. I don't want to see this. It's a pretty well-paced episode, as every time you forget that this episode is the spooky, they suddenly turn on enough lights for you to see this. In addition, there is a lot of buildup of literally everything in this world trying to kill Timmy, and since we can't see anything, well, you know the whole thing about how nothing is scarier. Oh, and also apparently Mr. Turner is naked the whole time. Dear Mr. Butch Hartman, This is Stripe the Squid. Big fan. Please give me the unedited episode Lights Out where you can see Mr. Turner's cock. I know you have it. You cannot hide it from me. Heading into the Halloween episode eventually. Not expecting the first Halloween episode, though, to be one where the scariest thing about this show is the logistics of eating pizza. Nightmare on Wilson Way starts with saying Blue pulls the same prank every year, the springs in a can bit. He does it to Mr. Harriman. And that kills him.
Dead! Yes!
So Blue buries a body, and the body unburies itself. Yes, we all knew zombies had to appear sooner or later, and Harriman slowly transformed the whole house into be walking on alive. The biting sequences we see are definitely really disturbing for a show like this, and while the episode isn't devoid of comedy, it's definitely more disturbing than the rest of the show. In other words, it's the thing I'm ranking on this video. Oh, but at the start of the episode, one friend is dressed as Blossom, before seeing that Frankie is dressed as her, leaving and saying that he should have been Bubbles. Later in the episode, you can see he is now dressed as Bubbles. The ending is a bit of a problem though. It's revealed that this is a trick against Blue, but they never told Mac, who's tied up in a room because sugar makes him go crazy. They really have no reason not to tell him, especially since Blue later lets him loose, making this far worse than it originally was. Fosters, please let me be able to genuinely say anything good about you for once! Also, Wilt has a running gag where his fake arm keeps falling off. Knowing his backstory, where he literally gets his arm ripped off, from a scale of okay to not okay, this is very not okay. Regular show has a trend of every Halloween they have a yearly special, Terror Tales of the Park. The very first episode has 3 segments, but on streaming it was separated, so I feel fine enough with only including what I find to be the scariest of these segments, In the House. On Halloween, Ribby finds a house where the owner isn't giving out candy despite being home, so he eggs it. Sadly, oops, wizard jump scare. The wizard, voiced by Mark Hamill in a voice very close to his Joker, slowly taunts him by morphing his body in weird, creepy ways. It also turns Rigby into a house. Not the funniest thing I've seen in this show, but you know what is? Murder. Not only does he turn Rigby into a house, he also murders the entire cast in pretty brutal ways. Benson is drowned, Skip is burned alive, Mordecai becomes an angry bird, Muscle Man gives humanity a reminder, and Fives, milk.
Worst phone call ever.
Thankfully, it was all just a story made up by Rigby. JK, here's another wizard jump scare.
Happy Halloween.
This episode really brings down the house. And makes a new one. One thing that annoys me about most dark episode lists is that they always include the same 7 shows and nothing else. There's no variety. I'm including these same 7 shows, but, explode. One thing that gets really ignored in these are the classic shows, usually only focusing on the 90s and 2000s. When I say classics, I want classic. Time to take you back to the past. To watch a creepy cartoon that makes me eat glass. There's a congestion. A lot of Mickey Mouse cartoons can be pretty scary when they want to. For the one where Pluto dies, or the many old Goofy shorts where he's insane, even the newer shorts with Zombie Goofy, and at least like 5 instances of war that's just close enough to when the internet blew up to make me question if this is an innocent joke or if Paul Rudis is working through something. But the Mad Doctor is definitely the scariest one. Pluto gets kidnapped, get him back. That's it. But everyone's either favorite or least favorite mouse, there's literally no in between, needs to face more skeletons in that cemetery route to get him back. I'm not scared of skeletons. Growing up on Skeletor and now knowing these creatures will do that to you, but they really do push it here, with stuff like Mickey going through a skeleton's ribcage and a spider skeleton. My brain is saying this is scientifically impossible, but my arachnophobia is telling me to spread Raid along a 3-mile radius, which you can now do by downloading today's sponsor, Raid Shadowlet. The skeletons are protecting the titular Mad Doctor, who kidnapped Pluto to cut him in half and sew his head onto a chicken to see what it lays. Oh joy! And cut off his very shadow! Oh, the edge indeed. You know, this is a really good looking short from 1933. There's a lot of really creative shots, almost like a video game. But the Doctor captures Mickey and decides to introduce him to the most white noise horror film franchise of all time. And then Mickey dies. Or it was all a dream. Or Mickey was in a coma all along! Most people know by now that Looney Tunes was made without kids in mind. They really just did whatever. They just wanted to be funny. Whether kids or adults watched it wasn't a matter to them. That can explain the many not particularly polished episodes they made in the early years, like Scaredy Cat. This episode starts with Porky and Sylvester going to a house they think is unoccupied, which it is if you ignore the murder cult. There's a group of mice trying to murder Sylvester, just like this cat who was never seen after this scene. Also, wait, Porky is Sylvester's owner? I mean, after like 80 years, I assume some things changed, so that checks out. The ways the mice try to constantly kill Porky and Sylvester is quite not fun. Well, I mean, it's hysterical, but it's dark, that's a problem. The two darkest parts, though, are first this scene, where Sylvester is tortured. We never see what happens to him, by the way, but it's enough to whitewash him. Can't believe these mice worked on Shyamalan's Avatar. They truly are vile. The other part is where Sylvester just casually whips out a gun and tries to shoot himself. You know, guys, I'm just gonna say it. I think cartoons these days aren't good as the classics. It'd be much better if Louis shot herself. But in the end, Sylvester is ended in the ended by this. Oh my goodness, there's a racist stereotype in this short. Thank God, I was starting to worry this isn't the classic Looney Tunes. Well, actually, this is a reference to a then popular comedian whose catchphrase was, "Monkeys are the craziest people." And this guy says, "Pussycats are the craziest people." It's so weird nowadays to see references nowadays no one will get. Like when they dig up this video in a million years and realize the comedic genius it is, will they understand this is Fred Jones from hit show Scooby-Doo? Will they understand? I gotta carry the whole world on my back, man. Back in the top 35 Nick shows, I said My Life as a Teenage Robot is only known for the main character. And I do have to take that back. There's one other thing people know about it. The episode Raggedy Android is a really fun time, with Jenny trying to blend in with humans by wearing this really ugly suit, but it falls off and she proves to the world she's a hero, despite the whole robot thing. But someone thought something funny. What if it had emotions? The return of Raggedy Android has Jenny once again question if she can blend in with humanity, mostly because racism. So she digs out her old suit, but now it's sentient. The suit is the only reason this gets on the list. Not only is there a lot of creepy moments with it, like latching onto Jenny, or this creepy snake scene, but also the creepy way the suit manipulates Jenny, making her act normal, basically condemn these teens to being beaten up by bikers, since that's what a real lady would do. Also, speaking of these bikers, why is one of them always carried around on a leash? This makes me uncomfortable. I don't like this. Not as uncomfortable as these hands, though. The good news is Jenny learns to be herself, and sheds the abusive suits. Too bad the guy's still racist. Nothing we can do about that, sadly. Besides murder. Exactly 1 year ago, I talked about Flapjack, a show well known for being extremely scary, which is why I made a video on it. Hippo! I said that though, even with so many disturbing moments, Tee-Hee Tummy Tums really stands out. For the first part, it's tame, about Flapjack trying to help this guy with a sack for a face sell cones. Then this happens. I don't like when this happens. Heck, even the moon that appears in this scene that's supposed to be inviting really makes you want to pull an Eggman. And joke about consuming dead bodies. Lovely! It's really only these two scenes, but it's enough to get here. Oh, and also it's stated that Tee-Hee Tummy Tum is the most beautiful man in the world. It was a fun time recording this. The cast is so kind. A.R. Willie. Gravity Falls is seen as a Halloween show, but I really wouldn't go that far. Yes, it's definitely got some really disturbing moments and full episodes, but like, still more of a summer show than an autumn one. But I'll take any opportunity to talk about this show that got me through middle school, and I did have some episodes to pick from. Into the Bunker came close for this lovely site, but in the end, I went with Northwest Mansion Mystery. Or Noir, I guess I can go by both. The Northwest are throwing an extravagant party that only wealthy can attend. And a ghost! Pacifica goes to Dipper to help them get rid of it. And then there's just blood. There's just so much blood. There's more blood than I have blood in my very body. But that might just be because of the satanic rituals I do. The ghost is actually Lumberjack, who helped build the mansion, which in turn will give them access to a party every year. But unfortunately, rich people. There's a ton of jokes about how bad the rich are. Wonder why. There's a burning skeleton ghost, everyone getting wood, the ending of Freddy vs. Wolverine, and of course the whole thing with a bell. Every time Pacifica acts out of line, her dad rings a bell that causes her to immediately stop acting out of line. Like she's a dog. Still though, things are set right with Pacifica leading everyone into the house, fully bonding with Dipper, and setting up a romance that's never touched upon again, but is just universally accepted as canon. Hey, at least we end on a good ending. Besides the whole apocalypse thing coming up. You can't trust triangles. I'm once again stressing that the tone of the show matters a lot. What could be traumatizing in one show could just be par for the course for another. It's why saying anything Rugrats could possibly be creepy holds a lot more weight than lower ranked shows like Gravity Falls or Flapjack. Chucky's Wonderful Life, as you might expect, the parody of the classic film It's a Wonderful Life. After Angelica tricks Chucky that he lost his dad's favorite CD, he wishes he was never born. Exactly what I wanted in my baby show. Suicidal depression. So as you'd expect, an angel comes by and shows him what would happen if he never existed. His dad was a crazy lunatic who talks to a sock puppet, Phil and Lilo are crooks, Tommy is homeless, and Angelica is a tyrant forcing everyone to bake cookies for her and give her toys. You monster! Give me back my Reptar, you heathens! You know what happens then? Chucky realizes that he's cool and decides not to die. Great! But for a show like this, that's enough to get onto the list. Owl House Season 2 overall is much darker than the first in every way. Every episode focuses on expanding the lore, adding new things to every character, taking a more serious approach overall. Heck, even the art style looks visually darker. Which means to talk about it, I need to get into spoilers, so make sure you skip here, because it's a great show. If not, you've got a truly hollow mind. Because that's the name of the episode. The episode starts off with a painting of all our favorite characters dying, and it keeps going from there. After accidentally getting into Bellows' brain, Luz and Hunter slowly unravel the truth of what Bellows is. Bellows was a very enigmatic figure for most of the show, and here we get his backstory finally. His voice actor once said that he could be seen as a well-intentioned extremist. He was so silly that day. He's killed this town, and tortured this town, and planned to genocide all the towns, and killed hundreds of clones of his own brother, and eats little animals. He's a bad guy if you haven't picked up yet. Plus, you know, panic attacks, some more genocide, fun for the whole family. And the kid they thought that was helping them was actually the real Bellows all along. Alright, that settles it. Jerry, new to the school. The children cannot be trusted. As I said many times before, Mystery Inc. tried its hardest to be the darkest the Funny Great Dane has ever been. But most episodes in the first season are just average Scooby fare, but the villains are slightly smarter. As the show goes on, the threats get deadlier and the mysteries get more mysterious. Eventually that leads to the two-part finale. Through the curtain and come undone. The gang have finally found what they need to stop the main villain Pericles from unleashing an unspeakable evil. But he's got them in the position he needs them to be. This leads the gang through several death traps and really bad CGI. But hey, speaking of death, let's have a team get shot in the face. It's off screen, of course, but I don't remember that in the old show. It was in the WWE movie, but we weren't making films. Also, why has no one ever mentioned that they just straight up have a scene with Shaggy relative gun? Unfortunately, though, they do end up releasing the evil entity, who is terrifying. You know until he talks.
I have been trapped too long.
SpongeBob me boy, I need your liver. The entity then immediately kills on screen all the characters in the show minus the gang. Which I must stress, they're not in a trance or so small they won't notice. You can see him devouring these characters we spent 2 seasons with by a tentacle load. Not Patrick Warburton and Cobb, you monsters! What really puts us here though is the ending. They of course kill the entity, who in turn resets everything, reviving all the killed characters and making a perfect world. But even then, as the gang notes, it still feels wrong. Too good. Everyone is treating them like they've been living for years like this, when for them, this life has only been lived for a couple minutes. To me, this is creepier than their giant hentai monster. I've forgotten stuff a lot, so I don't know. The idea of just waking up and living in a weirdly familiar life that's just not what you know, that's creepy. Still, it ends on an optimistic note, with the mystery machine still running and the gang still being together. And the show is cancelled. Bye! TMNT is the biggest tonal conflict you can find. Sometimes you can get all the turtles dying and Mikey needs to avenge them. Others get you a rapid manta ray. I've had a lot to choose from. I eventually want to go with 2012's take on the Rat King. I just can't justify that when 2003's Same as It Never Was exists. A time mix-up causes dying to be the only turtle remaining. Without the full team, Shredder takes over the entire world, once again sending everyone to an apocalyptic hellscape with him as a tyrannical overlord. He still lets people eat cookies though, so he's not as bad as Angelica. Without Donnie though, there's quite a lot of changes now. Like this handy-dandy new death counter-inator. Thanks to both Splinter and Casey dying, and the turtle splitting up. Also, 2 of Shredder's minions turned against him, one being Baxter Stockman. If you're unfamiliar with the show, there's a running, well, gag isn't the best word, running thing where every time he fails, Shredder removes a body part from him. Now, he's just in the brain in a jar strapped to Hun. The heroes attempt an attack on the Shredder, costing the lives of, oh boy, okay, there's a lot, Mikey, Leo, Raph, Cry, Baxter, and Hun, before eventually, Shredder is taken down, and Donnie flashes back to his old timeline. And another episode, we have this one with all your favorite childhood characters dead. Frick you, Timmy! I must stress that I'm putting a lot of emphasis on how much it contrasts to the rest of the show. Something like Sam As Never Was is definitely much darker than some of those shows ranked higher than it, but TMNT 2003 is already a very dark show, especially compared to the funny Aardvark show. Now granted, Arthur is no stranger to more realistic topics, like divorce or even drug addiction, but darkest has to go to April 9th. Now, first off, that's a weird title. Like, when do you ever see a specific date as, title? When did this episode come out? Oh no. Yeah, so this is kind of the chase. This is about 9/11. So yeah, while 9/11 may just be a punchline nowadays, it's probably not a thing you'd expect to see a kid's show cover. Now they obviously don't show the attack, it's an equivalent, a school fire, and we focus on 4 kids' perspective. Sue coping over losing a prized artifact in the fire, Buster trying to understand what happened and what everyone felt since he wasn't there, Arthur being traumatized by his father almost dying, and Biggie just being traumatized in general. Now the episode does frame this as more about fire safety, but come on, we know. I'm one of the first gens of people who weren't sentient enough to understand 9/11, so I best connect with Buster here, trying to understand what happened now and how I'm supposed to feel. I also relate to Arthur's dream. It has the Squidward rise up and take over humanity. One day, brother. One day.
Aw, so I'm still the only one who hasn't been through a fire? What rotten luck.
Listen, Buster, I may get condemned to the deepest pits of the underworld for saying this, but if you do really want this to happen again, you just get another plane. Oh, hey, look, I've noticed drug addiction is a shockingly common topic in cartoons. Some are more realistic, some are fantastical, but drugs are everywhere. As weird as it is to say though, Captain Planet of all things might have the darkest. Verminous Scum, sadly not voiced by Jeff Goldblum in this episode, is a drug dealer who's handing out drugs to people, including Linka's cousin. Linka catches on to summing up after this sweet backhand, but before she can push further, he slips a pill into her food, getting her addicted too. While it's obviously as heavy-handed as you expect from a 90s cartoon, it's still stupid disturbing. Drugs turn you basically into a zombie who will do anything Scum says, even walking directly into a fire. But it can do worse. They actually have a death here, the cousin from before, which is what gets on here. For a show that's basically just recycle or Dogs or Superman will beat you up, I didn't expect them to have an actual death. We also talk about how Abe Lincoln will be disappointed in his people for taking drugs, which okay, we're back to being crony. Also, Scum ends stripping balls, great! Avatar, Puppet Master, yeah. In the early years of the show, people wondered, hey, if waterbenders can, well, do that, why can't they bend by as well? Humans are made of water after all. This seeks the answer to that question. A game of camping out in the forest, before an old woman, Hama, comes across them, and invites them to live with her. Turns out, she was kidnapped from the Water Tribe and tortured by the Fire Nation. God, being tortured, that sucks. Good thing she wouldn't do the same, oh. So the gang are told of a mysterious person who comes down during the full moon and kidnaps people, that being Hama. Not only that, she's trying to get Katara to join her, and for her to become a bloodbender too, which, thanks to Hama nearly killing Sokka and Aang, she's forced to be. There are hot singles in your area looking to bend you. I've noticed there's 2 ways you can have a Halloween episode. On one hand, it'd be a silly little goofy time. On the other, the reason I hated Halloween when I was a kid, I was a little piss baby. Star vs. Hungry Larry seems like it's going to be performer. Marco's dad throws a haunted house party every year, but it's never scary. To try and liven it up, Star, who's dressed as her enemy Ludo, which is like if Batman dressed as the Joker, or they're dressed as these people, hires a ghost named Hungry Larry, who's cute and voiced by half of Futurama Billy West. It's definitely not going to be another reference to Vore in this video, oh come on! Well, he's not called Hungry Larry for no reason, as he slowly consumes everyone he can. And this just, lovely shot. He even sounds deeper than before. And now, the walls ooze green slime! It's a party trick he does, but like, no. I would hug him though. I want to squeeze those giant, monstrous, cannibalistic cheeks. I'll be honest, guys. I never thought any classic SpongeBob episode was that scary. Every episode people point to as creepy, I just found hilarious. Nasty Patty is the one I've seen suggested the most. But like, that episode's hilarious. Health Inspector had it coming. But when the classic episodes can't help, go to the modern Krabby Patty Creature feature. Krabs invents a new patty, but it has the unfortunate side effect of turning you into a zombie. Okay, maybe we shouldn't murder all health inspectors. These things are super gross. I don't like them. Every zombie has a slightly different appearance and quirk, but they're all super creepy. It's a cool idea of how instead of eating your brains to become one, you have to eat them. That's really all there is to this episode. Just how freaking scary these things are. Also, Patrick jump scare. The obligatory courage episode is Freaky Fred. Fred is probably a diddler. I have it in an old video. Watch that. It's still really good. I still really like that video. Bye. It's weird. Dark Harvest is simultaneously the most over-talked about episode in a cartoon history, and yet, one I'd almost call underrated. It's always just this one lovely shot of Zim barfing organs and the initial organ steal, but like, this is a really funny episode. Dim mooing at the end, kid just falling over, just how actually awful the school is, like genuinely. I don't think anyone would be lost if Zim blew it up. To get as being epic gamer, the lack of a spleen is no reason not to game. But also, like, there's a lot of things people don't talk about that's spooky. Like Dib drawing him dissecting Zim, or the creepy scene of the organ-filled Zim crashing through the vents. Yeah, it's a dark episode. That really earns its reputation. Wait, did I say there was an alien in the vents? I could genuinely feel half this list DCAU episodes. From domestic abuse to characters who can abuse other lives, lashing out of the world, to what's basically WandaVision, if they actually acknowledged that what Wanda did was a little fricked up. The shows in this universe have never pulled their punches. However, for variety's sake, I decided, like TMNT, to consider this all as one series, meaning I can only pick one, and that's pretty easy to do. Static Shock has got to be the darkest kids cartoon of all time, never shying away from topics like racism and homophobia, and not even trying to hide with allegories. But one definitely takes it further. Jimmy just comes out of the gate with what it is. It's a school shooter episode. Throughout the whole episode, we focus on a kid named Jimmy, who's voiced by Richard Stephen Horvitz, aka Zim. That honestly makes it even worse. He's friends with Virgil and Richie, but constantly gets bullied. Up to and including having said bullies taunting him overhearing his crush saying she'd never date him, and shoving him into a locker. Virgil goes to his house trying to cheer him up, only to find a manifesto, and he's taken his dad's gun. Jimmy confronts the bullies, threatening to shoot while hesitating, but in a brief scuffle, accidentally shoots Richie in the leg. Jimmy then gets sent off to juvie, while the bullies get a slap on the wrist, and immediately go back to their old tricks. But this time, Richie and Virgil stand up for them. You know, I had like 50 Jimmy Neutron jokes written for this once I realized that the darkest episode of this show was about a kid named Jimmy. But then after watching this episode, I'm cutting all those jokes. It's just a completely genuine take on the subject, showing the struggles of someone who might actually go through with this and the cycle of violence as it causes, even if there's a little glimmer of hope at the end. Even with the 6-foot-tall Armadillo Man and the Captain Planet level segment of Stag talking to the audience at the end, this is easily the darkest episode here. The only reason it isn't higher, because this is overall the darkest show here. And again, I am looking for some contrast. Because of that, not only is it not in the top 5, it's not even the highest DC show. I said TMNT was a mood roller coaster, but that's more so because of the long history of the series. If you want an individual show, look no further than Teen Titans. You can get an episode where someone basically manipulates Raven in a very clear analog for strangers manipulating people in bad mindsets online, or you can have Starfire try to cover a pimple up. But out of the many episodes I could pick for the darker side, I have to go with Haunted. Even though Slade fell into lava, Robin swears he saw him doing his old Slade things. But despite that, no one else on the team can see him. The episode then consists of Robin trying his hardest to catch Slade, getting hurtfully ratioed, and his team getting more and more worried about his mental health. In the end, Robin realizes that his team is right, and that he's imagining it. Despite getting genuine bruises from his encounters, he realizes that he is obsessing over it, and it's all in his mind. Or is it? This is a really uncomfortable episode to watch, with Robin attacking his own friends just because of his delusions, and growing more and more unstable. Overall, minus the few silly moments with Beast Boy getting sick, which somehow makes this the second DC show on this list with an armadillo. This is an extremely serious episode, and one with lasting consequences for Robin. But the real scary thing is Teen Titans Go! Am I right? Haha! Kill me. Ben 10 has so many picks for this list. From abusive boyfriends to anything was a scare, if you can think of something, the show with a blue duck cop named Brad Dudesman has got you covered. But I think the most shocking is Prisoner 775 has escaped. You'll never guess what happens. After a Chris Pratt jump scare, team are told of a prison full of aliens, most of which have done nothing wrong. When telling the warden how wrong this is, they found out one prisoner has escaped, turning out to be Randall Boggs Monsters Inc. He's actually a freedom fighter from his own planet, who's banished by the abusive ruler of said planet to Earth, losing his entire family in the process. So he wants to even the odds, attacking the warden and his family, only for it to be revealed he was trying to force a suicide by cop, begging for Ben to kill him, and he never intended to kill anyone. Then they just arrest him again. Really solid timed up here. This is gonna happen again. This episode is about Guantanamo Bay, the famous prison facility. Fun alien adventures! Like, wow. False imprisonment and this attempted suicide? And this really goes nowhere. As I said, they just arrest him. Max says the warden is cringe, but like, never release the other 774 complete innocent aliens. They're still rotting away in jail. Randall never appears again. Heck, I'm calling him Randall, but he never even got a name. All the suffering just to get Ben a new alien, he uses a whopping 3 times. He deserved better. Adventure Time really deserves to be in the same conversation as Zim and Courage as the darkest kids show. It's definitely less consistent than them, but it's got a ton of episodes that match, if not surpass, their creepiness. For me, I'm leaning towards The Lich. It's not the scariest episode here, but it's easily got the creepiest intro. This just acid trip of an intro, complete with the snail saying weird nonsense, just a cavalcade of noise, Billy becoming the Lich for one frame, and a full-on jump scare, which is horrifying. At least until I add this sound effect. Finn and Jake go to Billy to see what's up, and the rest of the episode is just them collecting gems. But it just feels so off. Like there's something we're not being told. After Bubblegum shanks a birch, we're revealed, oops, Billy is dead, and Lich is wearing his corpse like a nice fancy coat. Get yeeted, Finn. Can't believe an episode called The Lich has a Lich in it. I thought this would be Big Bone Daddy free. No, but seriously, Lich in general is pretty horrifying. And seeing him just straight up say to Finn that he never lied and will complete his goal instead of backing down will never not be the scariest thing. Finn and Jake follow him to a portal to stop him Mo, and they get realistic. Huh. Okay, we know what this means now, but just imagine being a kid, watching Finn's idol get murdered in front of your very eyes. The spooky skeleton man gets exactly what he wants. Finn and Jake's fate are completely up in the air. Now you gotta wait over a full year to find out what happened. Sucks to suck, kid. You could have flipped over Nick and been a tough puppy fan. You deserve this pain. Hey Arnold, like Arthur, is known for taking on serious subjects. It's usually through heavy allegories, but its meaning is clear. Plus that time Arnold's grandpa beat up Hitler. Even with the heavier topics, one felt like they went a bit too far. Curly Snap starts with Curly being extremely excited to finally be ball monitor, a role he thinks will get him the love and attention he craves. The teacher makes a slight mistake though, and gives that role to Sid. Despite the episode being named Curly Snaps, he takes it surprisingly very well and congratulates Sid while he patiently waits for his turn. Nah, he's insane! Curly takes a bunch of dodgeballs. You have no idea how many times I had to rewrite this, so I wouldn't say grab some balls. And locks himself in the principal's room. And when people start accusing him of going insane and try to talk him down, he pulls them with dodgeballs. While he's too smart for their executive games, eventually Curly, Arnold, Mr. Simmons, and Sid talk it out and defuse the situation. Before Curly is immediately thrown into detention. He ain't ballin', but he will soon be ballin'. Yeah, so in a vacuum, this is just an innocent, kind of quirky episode, but it's clear to tell what they were trying to say with this episode. This is yet another school shooter episode. It's admittedly much lighter than Jimmy. I mean, that actually has a gun for him to blast bearings with, while this is stuck with dodgeballs. The generally more innocent vibe of Arnold gets us much higher. I mean, once it clicks in my head this is what it was about, everything made sense. Like everyone talking about how they either knew Curly would eventually snap, or how they never thought someone like him would. Even having him called the Quiet One. All common talking points during or after a school shooting. I think this is one instance of where having joke in the episode makes it far darker. Because like, you do realize what it's about, right? Granted, this is back in the time when school shootings were less common, which is very depressing to say. But hey, a few decades later, I don't like it very much, sir. Don't do this to me. Also, it's revealed that Curly isn't his real name. It's Thaddeus. Yeah, Snap too. So I've been thinking about this video idea for a while. While I've always kind of flipped through what episodes will make the list, there's always one that confused me. You'll see what I mean soon enough. Powerpuff Girls has a lot of potential episodes I could pick from. The one where the girls make a sister who dies, the one where the girls himself dies, the one where the professor breaks all the laws of physics, all very good options. But above all, Speed Demon races to the top. You see races because of speed. The girls are happy to go on a break from school, and they're really glad to finally be able to leave Townsville and stop having to help everyone. They decide to race back home. A rookie mistake. So oops, time travel happened. And now because they weren't there to protect the town, it's been ravaged. Professor is insane and senile, the mayor is dead, Bellum is obsessing over his deadness, and Miss Keene is stuck waving. She's saying what she said right before the race, implying the world went to garbage the literal second the girls left. This is all caused by him, who's usually a pretty funny guy. He is not this time, taking over the entire world, either killing or zombifying them all. This leads to all their classmates chastising them for abandoning them, causing the girls to go back in time to their first race to get this future off the menu. But the girls decide they won't go on vacation since they need to protect the town. So, why is number 1? The reason is, I had a question that was hard to answer for this episode that was easy to answer for everything else. What's the message of this? Why was this episode made? For all of these, the point was obvious. Stranger danger, school shootings, personal acceptance, 9/11, or just being entertaining. But this one, it's really confusing. The girls are glad to get a break to needing to save the city, and for that, all their friends and family are dead. So, what's the message? Never take a break? Like, the girls never did anything bad, and they are just kids. Taking a quick break from pretty much carrying the town on their shoulders shouldn't be a big ask. Unfortunately, Satan. It's weird, it's uncomfortable, it's scary, and it's my pick for the darkest episode of a kid's show. But there's something even darker than these cartoons. Something scarier, something creepier, something horrifying. Your mother.
Awesome.